Hello, I'm Delaney, and today I will be elaborating on Caravaggio. Caravaggio was a very arrogant and rebellious man. He got into lots of fights and even killed a few people, which pushed him into prison. His first few years as an artist were pretty tough, but then after he fled over to Rome, Francesco del Monte took him into his household and helped pave the way to a successful artistic career. Many of his pieces portrayed lots of violence, as you can see in his piece, Judith Beheading Holofernes. He tried appealing to the church, however, they rejected his work because many of the officials viewed his pieces as vulgar. However, his violence made Caravaggio one of a kind because many other artists were afraid to replicate similar pieces because they didn't want to get in trouble with the church. Caravaggio used lots of plain backgrounds to emphasize the main point of his piece, as you can see in this piece called Boy with a Basket of Fruit. He used a very plain background so viewers will look directly at the boy. Caravaggio's use of realism brought personality into the characters, as you can see in the Christ's face as he's getting beaten. In this piece, Caravaggio created a biblical scene of disturbing violence. He also placed the characters close to the frame to make it seem as if the scene is happening right in front of the viewer. Caravaggio was often criticized for his lack of preparation before creating his masterpieces. He began using dark brushstrokes to create a rough sketch instead of using lighter strokes. He also would paint on top of mistakes he created, or even he would paint on top of a whole piece that he didn't like. Caravaggio was widely known for his use of dramatic lighting. His dramatic lighting allowed emphasis on the characteristics and emotion of the figures in his pieces. You can see in David with the Head of Goliath that David has a very strong and powerful feel to him, which again is emphasized through the use of Caravaggio's dramatic lighting. This is Caravaggio's piece called Supper at Emmaus. In this piece, two apostles invite a stranger who they have just met into their home to share a meal with them. When the stranger blesses and breaks the bread, the apostles realize that the stranger they invited into their home is indeed a Christ. Caravaggio freezes the moment that the two apostles have realized that they are witnessing a miracle of Christ. He does this because he wants the viewers to be in that moment and consider the miracle and experience the shock themselves. Going back to Caravaggio's use of dramatic lighting, in the piece, The Taking of the Christ, he uses his lighting to highlight the face of Christ and to highlight the face of the person to his left to emphasize the emotion that they're feeling. The Christ is clearly uncomfortable and not feeling happy, while the people around him have a sense of confusion and panic and anger as they are taking the Christ. His use of lighting also highlights a three-dimensional feel to the piece so the viewers can feel as if they are a part of this scene that is appearing before them. This is just a close-up of Holofernes' hand in Caravaggio's piece called Judith Beheading Holofernes. As you can see, there's lots of texture to this piece of work, and that's because Caravaggio painted with ground oils on linen canvases, which will eventually crack through time. This is also heavily different from other artists' use of frescoes, which made him stand out even more. Here I have my image list, and on the next slide I included my works cited page. Alright, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you learned a few new things about Caravaggio.